Well, again, because of START and because of treaties, we said, okay, fine. We're going to go ahead and make them we call SRV, single reentry vehicle. So all Minuteman 3s today are like this. Okay. So each one has a 470 kiloton warhead. Now, to prove a point, earlier in the year, we did a test launch out at Vandenberg again, but we put 3 back on. And basically, it was to let the world know we can put 3 back on if you want. But today, like I said, they're singles.
Of course we can.
Yes. And then about the question about about the question about one person trying to launch. So let me show you this picture. This launch control center style does not exist anymore because of upgrades. All right. So the new console is this right here. Basically, that rack and all of these racks here are no longer in the capsule. It's just one big console that sits right here. Okay, the bed's been moved over to that area. Now, in the old days, like, we didn't want one person to have the ability to turn both keys. Well, like I said, we did software changes, so even if both people or one person is able to turn the keys, you still need another launch control center. Well, if you look here, you notice that there's 4 hands. Okay, each person sitting in front of their console, they have to hold a switch to turn the key. Yeah, okay, so one person cannot do everything in one capsule. Again, we have this ability here, plus we have another launch control center doing the same thing, again, providing the second launch mode. The reason why we went to this type of system here, because it gave both people better situational awareness. In the old days, the commander was the only one staring at the lights over there. The deputy was doing his or her thing over here. By doing it this way, both can see what each other is doing and back each other up as far as the day-to-day operation is concerned. But it still takes 2 people to launch.
How many votes are required to launch?
2 votes.
Just 2?
2 separate launch control centers. And going back to what I said earlier, there is no self-destruct. When that missile leaves the hull, it's going to its target. Okay. You know, so unlike what you see in the movies and everything, somebody, Bruce Willis or Arnold Schwarzenegger saves the day or whatever, it's not going to happen.
The Patriot missiles can't hit down something like that?
Don't know. Probably not.
Really?
Because just remember, when a reentry vehicle comes back in, it's coming in at 15,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay? A bullet travels only about 2,000 miles an hour. So, you know, that's why I said, from my personal opinion, you're never going to intercept one. That's why I said to get a 96% kill rate, it's going to take at least 8 anti-ballistic missiles to take it out. And the United States only has 40.
Yeah, so in the Minoka pyramid scenario, they actually would just detonate an explosion near the incoming ballistic missiles and hope that they would destroy them while they were coming over. It wasn't an actual impact. Right. It was an explosion near the missile at a certain altitude, and they would hope they could decommission them as they were coming in, because they couldn't directly hit them.
Right.
That was their dream.
Now, the current system that the Army manages, those are actual direct impact. They actually have, because of Reagan's Star Wars thing, they actually have units that will fly out in direct path and control itself to basically put it in the impact path of the incoming warhead. But again, going back to there's so many warheads and only so many anti-ballistic missiles. You know, I mean, just to give you an idea, okay, one of our submarines, one of our Trident Ohio class submarines carries 24 missiles. Each missile carries 8 warheads. That's 192 warheads in one submarine.
And how much is the yield of one of those?
About 470.
Really?
Yeah.
So.
Because basically the warhead that we're using on Minuteman 3s is the same one they're using on the submarines.
So if a 470-ton
kiloton
lands in Chicago, What's left?
Well, Chicago's pretty much gone. So
what kind of
ground zero is probably for a 470 kiloton device, air burst, which does the most damage. You're talking 15-mile radius. I mean, he's gone, vaporized. Okay, anything after that, now you're talking shockwave damage. Okay, structural damage. Okay, burns pretty much up to maybe 20, 25 miles out. Because you're talking like bringing the sun down to the earth.
A small sun.
Yeah. Any questions? Anything else?
So how does the spider web of this work when the president actually says we're going to launch? Does it goes to another facility that sends the votes out or tries to get the votes for the missiles? So like if this site was going to get a command for the vote, where would that come from then?
The whole process starts, you start off right with the President of the United States. Basically, the President of the United States notifies the Pentagon, the NMCC, National Military Command Authority, okay, or Center. And what they do is they generate what they call an EAM, an emergency action message. That emergency action message, what you heard over the speaker, the Kilo, Whiskey, Bravo, and everything, that is the actual message that tells the crews, this is what you're getting ready to do, okay? As far as the launch votes themselves, once the crew decodes the message and they say it's a valid, authenticated message, all they're going to do is, depending on what capsule they're at a certain time, because in that message is going to tell them the actual launch time. And they're going to go ahead and put their keys in, and at the launch time, they're going to turn their keys. Then the other launch control center, who's also decoded that same message, knows what time their launch time is. They're going to turn their keys. That supplies the votes. Now the missiles are on their own, ready to go whenever they're going to go. Okay. All this happens, believe it or not, in less than 10 minutes.
That's pretty timely.
Yes.
So how many launch facilities were in one tier here for one wing?
Well,
missile?
when we were fully operational, we had 150 silos and 15 launch control centers.
And 15, okay. So it's very redundant still,
yeah.
even here, because this was the first wing, right? Or this
second
was
wing.
The second. Oh,
Right, second wing. Because Malmstrom up in Montana was the first wing.
oh, that was the first one. Okay.
Actually, their call to fame was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. They put up 10 missiles ready to go. And that's why Kennedy called it his ace in the hole. Okay, because we had Atlases, liquid fuel, but we had 10 Minutemans that were put on alert, and actually there was 2 or 3 put on alert in Vandenberg in California also, that if we had to go to war, they would have used them. We don't know if they would have worked, but at the time, because these were brand new, all the bugs weren't worked out just yet, but they were confident enough they would work.
And when you talked about decoding that message, does that, like the Bravo, Whiskey and all that, whatever they have to decode, does that change daily or something?
Each time that message comes out, it's something different.
But I mean, like,
how do you decode it?
yeah, like we were talking about that other side.
Yeah, in the
changes.
books, in the classified books, obviously they're not here. Each day,
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
that
yeah.
page would have the code for that day.
Okay. That's what, okay.
I think maybe like FedEx showed up every day with new codes.
No, they have the codes. Our codes vault is the folks that actually generate the codes, because back in the day, that's how the codes were delivered, not by FedEx, but there was actually a guy or gal that had a briefcase handcuffed to them, and they carried the codes. Now the codes, the actual launch codes, the codes that are in the box here, that are in this book, okay, nobody's ever seen them. No human eye has ever seen them. Okay, they're all machine generated, and then they're sealed by the National Security Agency, the NSA folks. Okay, no such agency. And what happens is that we call them cookies, and that's why in this book here there are pages. There are pages in here that contain the codes. Okay, And depending on the message, they will go to the appropriate page, pull that code out, and break it. That's why I call it a cookie. They will break it, and inside is like a fortune cookie, the code information's in it.
So is this setup duplicated on the submarine? Are there
No.
two guys like this on the submarine?
On the submarine, there are several people. The captain has the keys, the weapons officer has the keys. I think there's a total of 6 keys, and they're all different locations and sub they have to be in to put those keys in.
So, I should
No.
let you finish.
A good example, if you ever have the opportunity to watch Crimson Tide, that's very accurate, showing an actual launch, an actual EAM message coming in. I mean, it's a movie, but it's very accurate.
So really, in reality, in the submarine, instead of having multiple launch facilities to get the vote, they have a more elaborate system that everyone has to vote in the submarine to get the vote to launch.
Exactly.
And so it's all happening in one place instead of
Right.
in multiple sites.
Right, and that's why I say if you watch the movie, you'll see how one person can mess it all up because he didn't want to put that key in. Okay. And then also in the submarine, they have a trigger. There's 2 triggers. There's a training trigger and there's a real trigger. And so when they do exercises, it's always a training trigger. Okay, because you don't have the code to get. They actually have to unlock. It's like a little vault. You have to unlock, dial it out to pull the real trigger out.
So did you guys love the movie? It's an ancient movie, Failsafe.
Actually, I loved it. I love Dr. Strangelove too.
but in Failsafe, it was just a transistor on a